hello, and welcome to Life Off Script. My name is Yaz. You're listening to a new episode. Unfortunately, it is a bit late, but the reason was that I was down bad, Taylor Swift style, for hay fever. My hay fever was very embarrassing because I was wearing sunglasses, not just outdoors, even though the sun wasn't out. It was really cold and windy. I was wearing them indoors as well. So I look like a lost mouse that had defected from the Three Blind Mice. This episode is going to be on how to make friends in London and with London. So, to treat London as you would a living, breathing thing is something that I feel like you need to maintain across your travels, across your time in London, whether it be for longer. So like I'm on a youth mobility visa, so that's 3 years max, but obviously you can do longer. But to keep the spirit alive of being in a new and exciting and fun city, because I do feel like people can really, and I'm definitely a victim of that, which is that I can get comfortable with my surroundings and then tend to not really want to leave it. And you just don't discover anything new when you do that. So I wanted to get this episode across to people that are moving over and are feeling very vulnerable and very like, oh my God, how am I going to make new friends? And I just want to connect and say, it won't be actually that much of an issue. And if it is, there's ways around it. Okay, so let's get started. First thing on the agenda, we're going to go through an agenda. Sorry, guys, that's my corporate life coming out. I'm the chair of this meeting. Okay, so core question is, how do you make a place like London feel like home and find a social group or groups that will make you feel like that is the case, especially when you've just moved. So I am coming from this in obviously a very much Australian perspective and lens. So with us, obviously, we're quite friendly, we're very social, and our customer service is incredible, and we engage with customer service. Yeah, we have more community focus. And I think the UK definitely has that. If you're to go to the countryside, if you're going to like Kent, Cotswolds, Canterbury, Cornwall, if you go to any of those sort of places, like of course you're going to get that kind of communal spirit. And I think it is a privilege to say that Australia does have a very communal spirit and a very collegial, like social responsibility. Basically, in saying that, we all work together to maintain a really lovely social community, is what I'm trying to say. So you leave that nest, and I do feel like coming to London is realizing that Australia has it really good and that there are different places all over the world that you really need to adjust to. And I think London's one of them, which is that the way people treat you in London is just like nothing you've ever experienced before. And you won't experience it anywhere else. I feel like London is really just one of those places. But then equally, I think of like all the bad customer service I've had almost is counteracted by the amount of fabulous interactions I've had. I do want to say, so like my first point is that the social culture in London is very aloof. It's polite in a way that is like not polite at all. Instead of someone stepping in and being like, "Hi, how are you?" they would rather be more reserved and let you be the one to speak. Even the dentist in Australia, like you walk in, they go, "Oh, hey, how are you? Like, how's it going? Like, the weather outside," like they just start talking, right? But in in London, I remember vividly, I walked into the dentist. I had like a checkup, and I was just like met with silence, and she she just looked at me, and it kind of was like a Mexican standoff, weirdly. And I was like, is she going to say, "Hello, how are you? Why are you here?" And she just didn't. And that was like in the first maybe month or 2 months of being in London. And it was just such a weird experience that I was like so confused, because I was like, is is this the right place? Like, is this the dentist? Like, am I actually at the right place? That's really something that you have to get used to in London, because they're never going to sugarcoat it for you. And I don't think they should sugarcoat it for you. It's a really harsh city to live in, and I think you just adapt to it. It's just very confronting at the start. Social culture, it's just aloof. They're not willing to stick out their neck for you. You drop something, people aren't really going to help you because they've got better places to be, things going on. They also like don't trust strangers, which is also like very fair. Like, if you think about, and I guess this is something as well that you won't think about until you are living here, which is that there's just bigger fish to fry at every point in London. Like, every moment you might think this might be the biggest thing that, in Melbourne, someone would help me over or someone would look after me for. But in London, it's like you are one of millions of people that need help. And we've got bigger fish to fry at every aspect. We've got bigger fish to fry. And yeah, the crime rate is just something else entirely. And it makes you feel like Australia living in a bubble. That's actually a positive. I'm not insulting Australia when I say I feel like everyone that lives in there lives in a bubble, because the crime is just like nothing. The crime that happens in London, for instance, there was one time recently. I know I'm getting sidetracked, guys, but you've just got to hear me out. This one time, it was probably a few months into living in London, and we found out that a man had escaped Wandsworth prison. And Wandsworth is like south of the Thames, basically South London. Wandsworth is actually a really nice area. So he escaped the prison, and he was on the run for like 3 days, I want to say. Now, if someone escaped a prison in Australia, Channel 7, Channel 9, Channel 10, ABC would lose their absolute minds. Like, it would be just everywhere. It would be the only thing Australians talk about, and people would volunteer to help and, yada yada. It would just be a huge, huge this event, and it would just take over everyone's life. Whereas in London, when this happened, I think I saw it on the news twice. And like, yeah, they caught him, but like, I saw it on the news for maybe a couple hours, and literally no one in London spoke about it again. It's just such a different ball game. It really is. And the pure scale of London is you really can't tell until you live here. But that was something that I had to come to terms with, which is that why does no one care about these things? And it's because there's something new happening every time you blink. Like I said, bigger fish to fry. So anyway, back to social culture. Okay, sorry, I really went off topic on that one. But what I wanted to say is that the aloofness is really hard to deal with at the start, but you've just got to keep your polite, friendly demeanor and push against it, because they do actually eventually crack. It's just more that they really hold an aloof facade up for a really long time, and you've just got to kind of keep pushing at this like polite friendliness until they start to crumble a bit, and then they're like, oh, she's actually, or he's actually nice, and we can get along, and everything else. Some of them are really lovely once you get to know them, but it's just like this weird like initial reservation that is just an ice cold demeanor. Truly. In saying that, I wanted to say that on the flip side, yes, customer service, I'm talking daytime sort of like social interactions, sure, they don't give a fuck. It's almost like when it becomes night and they step into a pub, a switch is flipped. Truly, a switch is flipped, and everyone is the nicest person ever, wants to chat, wants to like hang out with your friends, you hang out with theirs, wants to mingle. The mingling in London is so foreign to Australian nightlife. I feel like in Australia, when there's security, they just think they're the bee's knees, and they really are very much, well, I know Melbourne is, but Australia's very policed. Um, it's a very policed country. There's a lot of police about. You get fined a lot. There's just police are kind of integrated into your everyday life. I always see the police around in Australia, no matter what. And the same for security guards and bouncers. Like, they are very strict and they're very, if you look too drunk, you're not getting let in. Whereas in the UK, a general European kind of demeanor, but the security and the bouncers, they're so chill in the UK. It's bizarre. It's so weird, but in the best way, because you can have just like an absolute crack on with the security guard at a club, no problem, at a pub, whatever, and they won't just like ignore you. I feel like in Melbourne specifically, they would just like ignore you. Whereas here, they kind of like not egg you on, but they kind of do. They love to have a banter, basically. And there's been so many times where one of my friends have been able to get into a club or a pub or something that's like, there's line up, there's an entry cost, and we've just been able to get in based on literally going up and having a bit of banter and going, come on, like, you know what I mean? So there's this place called Pear Tree in Battersea Park, and I'm just really proud of this one, so I'm going to talk about it. Last weekend, we went out to Pear Tree, which is like, if you think about there's this beautiful lake in the park. It's a huge park, and there's just a pub that sits against the lake, and there's like live music, DJ, whatever. It's great vibes. I love it. It's a bit pretentious, but I do love the vibes there, and it's just a great spot to go with all your gals. But the line for it is just stupid, especially because summer's approaching and we're slowly getting those really nice days, and everyone's just like comes out to the one place just because it's such great vibes. And we get there and the line is like, I honestly, guys, like 2 hours long, maybe longer, and I'm like, we can't wait this long in line, like that's a joke. And you can only get in if you have a wristband. And so like, obviously we're trying to mooch off the people that are leaving, going, can you just give me your wristband? I'll just pretend I have it on my wrist, rara. And I'm like, okay, cool, I'm going to do that. And I wanted to check also how long the line was. So I went up to the front and there's 3 guys there. I beeline to the one that looks the nicest. I'm like, hey, like, how long's the line? And he's like, oh, are you waiting in line? I'm like, yeah, like I'm with my friends, like we've been waiting ages. I'm absolutely putting the sugary sweetness on. I am absolutely acting my little heart out. And I'm like, puppy dog eyes, like, oh my God, it's so sad. Like, we've been here for ages and our friends are already inside and we can't go see them. And like, how long is this line? Like, is there any chance? And he's like, you don't have a wristband? And I was like, no, like, poor me, don't have a wristband. Like, but me and my friends, like, could you please? And he was like, okay, I'm going to pass you to my supervisor. And then the supervisor just gave me a wristband and off I went into the pantry. Banging. And then, of course, I beelined to my girlfriends who were lining up against like the fence. One by one, we all got everyone in. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to Amazon order a fuck ton of wristbands so I don't have to deal with that shit again. Hopefully no one that works at Pear Tree is listening to this and making notes. Like, you can really schmooze and get what you want. They just don't follow rules as strictly as they do in Australia. I feel like Australia, like I said, collegial social responsibility, and therefore a lot of people follow the rules quite well, and then there's like that inherent like social rules. But because London's such a big city, it feels like they don't owe anyone to follow the rules. Therefore, you really can do a lot more things. I'm going to be really sad when I do eventually move back to Australia, because I think there's really nothing like a London night out and a London pub. It's so above what Australia is like in terms of like social mingling. I do feel like St Kilda, just based on the backpackers that we have there now, most Brits, most Irish, that they're slowly making St Kilda a bit more of a social vibe. I don't know if that's actually a contentious topic, but it's what I've been thinking about, because I once went to a Sam Fenders concert It was like a gig. No, it was a concert at in St Kilda. I can't remember where it was, but it's near the beach, kind of. No, it wasn't. It was like near Luna Park, I think. Um, and the vibe, the crowd, the social like togetherness was purely based on the fact that majority of the people there were Brits and Irish people and people wanting to have a good time and wanting to mingle and stuff like that. In London life, you're always doing something or always on. And, there's niche events, there's like always something happening. And that's actually a really good thing for making friends. The reason is that you can make friends in a city that moves fast because people are used to change, are adaptable to a changing environment, okay? Springboarding off what I said before about the pub and how you just make friends in the pub, sure, like night out friends, whatever. But a lot of the people, and I feel like you do gravitate towards Australians majority of the time just because that's what you know and they are going through the exact same thing as you, but also just like people in general who have moved to London, you do find you have this like commonality between yourselves that really strengthen or like bond you together, I guess. Making friends is really hard, but I think that London isn't that bad to do it in. There are, like, I'm not kidding, so many events that are like make friends with other people in your area. There's Facebook groups, there's so much happening, and I feel like because of the social togetherness that they have, you will find that you go to make friends event thing in London and then you go to the pub and then they end up seeing some friends that they know and then you just end up like making a bigger circle as you go and you tend to take on the yes man effect. Like the yes, I will come to that. Of course, why wouldn't I? And this also flows into what I'm going to talk about later, which is living with London and making friends with London. These go hand in hand, and partially why I brought it up as like a one episode thing is that, you want to make friends, and to do that, you kind of also have to make friends with London and what it can offer you and what you need to extrapolate from it. For instance, you kind of have to have, if you don't already have it, forced extroversion. So needing to always be on. I don't think that's like necessarily like important quality, but it's something that I think you need to push yourself to move towards, especially when you first move to London. It can get really overwhelming, but the one thing you've got to do is just embrace the cringiness of like meeting new people, especially in your adult life. There is not many times where you will forcibly make friends that doesn't come from like a natural setting. So, and I'm not saying that all of your friends in London will be forced. You do kind of have to embrace the awkwardness and the cringe if you think it's cringe and the vulnerability that is making friends and catching up with people that maybe you wouldn't have caught up with in Australia, but they've moved also to London at the same time and you're all in it together kind of thing. That's the kind of vibe that I'm talking about. And it's a really strange feeling because if you think about it in Australia or wherever you're from, making friends would be natural from high school or family friends or your hometown or university or work. But have you been in a situation where you are by yourself in a very new, exciting city and you have to make friends? Like, that is a hard thing to do. And I think that everyone that moves to London and makes friends should really feel very proud of themselves because I think it's a really tough situation. And I do think that forcing yourself to be extroverted in the first 3 to 6 months of London life will set you up so, so, so well. And it's really a domino effect, like I said. It's truly you start with one friend and then it just like multiplies. It's just like a fungi. Um, is fungi the right word? Okay, I don't think it is. I actually just watched a movie last night called Contagion, which triggered COVID flashbacks that I had somehow suppressed. And I'm just thinking about their explanation of how often something would reproduce, and it was like R naught. So it'd be like swine flu. Oh, for every one person infected, it would be like 4 to 6 infected. Okay, this is a terrible analogy, but what I meant was that it just multiplies really quickly. You've just got to push that friendship. You've just got to, obviously in a natural way, but you've got to be like, would you like to go for coffee? Like, we're in the area together, we're so close to each other. Or I really wanted to go to this museum. Would anyone like to come? Make group chats. So and so is playing in, somewhere else. Is anyone keen to kind of do a whole day trip and then go to that gig? You know what I mean? Like things like that. And then this flows into exploring with intention and ensuring that you are getting to know the city and making friends with it. London is very nitty gritty. It will be a really difficult place to acclimatize to, but there's so many things that you can do to make it really lovely to you. And I think one of them is that you don't want to become complacent or comfortable with your surroundings. Of course, when you first move, you're probably going to move somewhere that you think someone's told you, or like you've read on Reddit or Facebook groups, Aussies in London, that this place is great. Fine, but just don't take people's word for it, because everyone's got so many differing opinions on London. Like, it's truly, there's no real consensus on anything. Like, some people love Fulham. I personally think Fulham's okay, but I'm not obsessed with it. People hate Clapham, and I think Clapham's great. People might think East London's a bit whack, but I actually quite enjoy it in some parts. North or West is a bit snobby, but I actually really like it there. Everyone's got differing opinions. And also, just side note on that, actually do not listen to Google reviews on cafes in London, because no British person knows what good coffee is. And I stand by that. Like, that you will go, if you think it's a good cafe because the Google reviews are like 4.7, it's a fucking lie. Unless you know for a fact, like one of your friends or whoever, and they know Australian coffee has said that that cafe is really good. I'm telling you right now, the coffee shit. The coffee is so bad. I once went to a Gales, and Gales, if you're not aware of, it's like a chain bakery slash cafe, and it had such good reviews, and I had the worst coffee I've ever had there. It was like someone spat in it. Sorry, just one break because I need wine right now. Speaking on London makes me thirsty. Okay, exploring with intention. This is the cure to making sure that London is your best years of your life. Like I said, you've got to make friends with London. You've got to accept its flaws, i.e., dirty buses, dirty tube, too hot on the tube, no aircon, no air cons in the flats. The fact that it'll be 25 degrees and it'll feel like 35. Everything being expensive, bills that you didn't even know you had to pay for, rent that's just ridiculously high. So you don't want to get complacent. You want to accept their flaws, but you also want to equally celebrate their successes and celebrate what makes them London. Wow, that sounded really good. But what I'm meaning is that London, like I said before, is full of new opportunities. It's full of events that you never even knew existed. There's pop-ups everywhere, there's sample sales, there's museums, events on that like are just the most insane events ever. Every pop star artist always comes to London, so you can guarantee that you will see your favorite artist. You'll walk into Florence Pugh eating a Sunday roast at your local pub. Like, there's just things happening constantly, no matter what day it is. It could be a Monday and there could be a huge parade on, all the pubs are full. It doesn't matter. In London, in summer, the honestly, the world is your oyster. The city is peak. The city is fucking banging. And I want that to be a target or a goal in mind, is that yes, your money is depleted when you first move. And yes, there's so many things happening, it's overwhelming, but that to ensure that you have the best time ever, maintain a want to explore London and its surrounding like countryside towns and to really soak it all up. And that means making sure that your weekends are filled to the brim with things to do. And that also means not, preventing yourself from seeing something or, going to West End to see a play or what have you. Just because, you don't have any friends at the time. London is the best city to solo travel in. You will feel like such a nobody, but in the best way. You can just go by undetected and really, really enjoy yourself. And I think that that's a real gem of London, is that you just feel like you can do anything. And I know personally for me, I felt this really viscerally because I'm coming from a town that is quite small, and everyone knows everyone, and there's perks to that, but there's also like you can't be a nobody in that town. Everyone has known what you've eaten for breakfast as soon as you step outside. So coming to London, despite all its flaws, there's a lot of things that it could improve on. It's really, really special. And some takeaways from this. Let's hit action points. Action points for you to come to London and make friends by adopting a extroverted persona in the first 6 months. Forcing yourself to really push for friends and watching it multiply as your social circle increases. The more and more that you kind of delve into the London life. Also, equally, treat London like a friend. Be patient with it. Be hard on it when it needs to be hard, and enjoy everything that it can offer, because there's a reason that so many people live here. There's a reason that London is one of the most well-known cities in the world, and there's a reason so many people migrate over here. It's because there's something special about it, and you could argue with me about this all you want, but it's just different to a tourist's experience compared to living in London experience. There's Facebook groups, Gals in London or something, Aussies in London. Gals in London definitely have a also like a meetup situation for the girls that are listening. There's like a meetup event that they have on. And they do that like, every 2 weeks or something like that. And you can make new friends. There's also one on Gals Who Rent, which is like people that are looking to find a room or like looking to pair up with a buddy. And that's also a great way of making friends. When you when you sublet in London, you generally make friends with the housemates. You've also got to be flexible to the environment. So like if someone wants to do something, I mean, there's so many things in London that are free still. Thank God for that you can do. And it's so much fun. And this is also exactly why I said in my first episode to move in summer, because you get to come in, everyone's happy, you get to make friends and have that social bond that really sets you up for success in the long run. And it's just about maintaining that and making sure that you say yes to a lot of things, even if you may be like, oh, I don't really know if that's my cup of tea. There's nothing wrong with trying something different. If you find out you don't like it, fine. But if you find out you love it, even better. And, the more friends you have, the more experiences you'll probably have as well, and the more you'll get to explore London. Thanks again to everyone that's been listening. Just absolutely powerhouses, all of you. And I hope this is helpful to those that are moving or considering moving to London. We're all there with you, and very much good luck. You will do great and you'll make friends. I can guarantee it. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for listening. You can find me on Life Off Script Pod on Instagram, same on TikTok with a period between script and pod. I had to think there. And you can also listen on YouTube, Amazon, Apple, you name it, we have it. Love you all. Ciao.